is up, the blood pressure's up, the heart rate up, because they get them a blood pressure cuff, they get them a pulse oximetry monitor. They'll call them and say, okay, what did you do different? Mm-hmm. So my mother is new to this, and she told my father to get her some baked fish from Captain D's, right? So she not thinking in her mind, okay, it is baked fish, but it is a fast food restaurant. Mm-hmm. She got green beans, but of course they put salt in it because a lot of times the restaurants want you to eat the food and want it to taste good.
That sounds good for lunch.
I know. But in a heart failure person, it's not.
No.
Because she ended up gaining 4 pounds. So then, of course, we had to double her diuretic, have her go to the bathroom more to get that fluid off. But she noticed the difference. She understood then after she ate it and retained that fluid.
Right.
She was like, oh, it makes it hard to breathe. It makes it hard to get up and walk around. I'm more lethargic. My legs feel heavy. And once she went to the bathroom several more times with that extra diuretic water pill, she felt much better. So then that put it in her mind. Because sometimes people got to, hard head makes for soft bottoms. They got to learn the hard way. So she'll know now to never do that and to make more of her fruits and vegetables and to, look at the container, look at the label. I teach my patients. We have labels in each room. Look at the label. If it says the serving size is half and it says the sodium is 1,200, but you eat this whole and it's 2 servings, then that's what? 2,400 milligrams, right? So again, you have to look at your label. You're looking at the serving size and then how much sodium is in there. And then keeping up with your regular schedule appointments with your primary care, with your cardiologist. He's a specialist. He may see you a little bit more than I do, or he may see a little bit less. Usually your first line is always your primary care. So you go to your primary care, they should be looking at your numbers. You should be asking what your numbers are, your vital signs, each and every time you go in there. So if you don't come to us and you go to somebody else, we want you to be an advocate for yourself. If you notice that the signs are, your vital signs are going up and up, your blood pressure, then you question your provider. Okay, what are we going to do about it? My heart rate is higher and higher. And then, are you having palpitations? That can be sometimes thyroid, sometimes it can be cardiac, sometimes it can be pulmonary with your lungs, but you need to say something. You gotta pay attention to your body.
I think one of the things you mentioned that's so important that people forget about the treatment of hypertension and prevention of heart failure is sodium in food.
Yes.
People don't realize it, just like you said, and I tell my patients the same thing. First thing is, before you tell a patient you need this drug or that, is how much sodium you're taking in.
Yes.
And people, the maximum amount a day is about 2 grams or 2,000 milligrams. You don't realize how much salt there is in food. Processed foods, fast foods. You can go get
sodas.
Soda. You can go get a hamburger and fries and stuff like that, and probably exceed the 2,000 milligrams of sodium.
Easily.
And the other thing is the food you eat. You can now, thank God, you can look at the cans and it'll say so many grams of sodium, but it may say 2.5 servings on it.
Right.
And it's some of it's common sense. If you have a bowl of chicken noodle soup, and you take it and it's salty, you know you shouldn't be eating it.
Right.
If you can, I ask my patients, you watch your salt. Oh, I don't salt anything. Well, what do you eat? Well, I'm having country ham,
right,
and soup, and I really don't eat anything
right.
salty.
Because in order to preserve the food, they have to put sodium in it. If it's on a can, if it's in a can, on the shelf, in a box, anything like that. If it goes in the freezer, they have to put sodium in it.
Right.
Sodium and salt are the same thing. Some people don't know that.
That's right.
They're the same thing. So even if you're not handshaking the salt on there, if you're eating those things and you're not making it fresh yourself, and you know how much you put in there, then most likely you're going to have a diet full of salt.
Correct.
And then another thing is like gluten and things like that. All of these things that you're eating that the body does not process leads to the heart having to be overworked, which then leads to the kidneys have to be overworked. That's why we have dialysis center on every corner now, because I'm going to say in the 80s, when they went to the low-fat diet, what did they put in those foods? Salt. What did salt do? Blew everybody up, and that's how obesity really became prevalent. Obesity does not start after 35. It doesn't start at 30. It starts at the BMI, body mass index, of 27. Primary care providers and everybody should really be looking at this BMI of 27 and really starting to talk to your patient. No, you don't want to badger them and say, hey, you're fat. And if you lose weight, you're going to be better, because nobody's geared to be a 10. It's not about that. We're looking at the reason their BMI is 27 can be from the salt intake. It can be from the inflammation in the body from the foods that they're eating that they don't process. If we get those things out of the diet, the weight is going to come down. But we're not just looking at the weight per se. We're looking at the fat intake. We're looking at the sodium intake. We're looking at the percentage of fat. That's what really determines on you coming down. Because I know some healthy, thicker people that don't have high blood pressure. And I know some that's really skinny that do have high blood pressure. So that's the media sometimes telling us that if you're fat, you're out of shape, and if you're skinny, you're healthy. That's not correct. I see patients coming here to see you, and they come in all shapes, sizes, and colors. They're in different ages. They're young with hypertension that's been uncontrolled. They're older with heart failure because of hypertension being uncontrolled. We have a rainbow because you can never judge a book by its cover. So that's why you have to get to the nitty gritty of talking to your patients just like I do. And we really want to make sure when you leave here, you went to a doctor's office and you learned something. So what do you think about inflammation in the body?
Well, there's two things you mentioned. One was inflammation, and the other was having patients weigh themselves to see if they're retaining fluid. There's definite evidence of inflammation causing being associated with coronary artery disease or blocked arteries. When the arteries develop blockages, it's basically a crack in the lining of the vessel. Cholesterol gets in, then the body has macrophages or white blood cells that gobble it up, and all this junk develops in there, and then calcium gets in there in time, and the whole wall of the heart. This is not the lumen like where you can roto-rooter it. It's like grease inside the wall, inside the lumen. It's called where the blood flows through. It's actually the wall. The wall is a muscle of the blood vessel, and that expands and then eventually causes a narrowing. And so so that's an inflammation process. Number one. The other thing, they've done studies on people with gum disease, and if you have gum disease, there's about a 3-time that's inflammation of the gums, 3 times increased incidence of having heart disease or blockages of the heart.
And that was our last show that we had with Dr. Pam Asap. She's a dentist, and that's what she's talking about. Starting oral health care as early as soon as those teeth erupt, teaching people how to brush their teeth correctly, teaching people that get older about when you remove the teeth and have dentures, the importance of oral care, because all that goes right to the heart.
It does.
If you had a what is it when they have to take an antibiotic before they have a procedure? Rheumatic. Yes.
Right.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So whenever they go to the dentist to have like a cavity filling or something like that, they need to have their antibiotics. Sometimes the dentists are right for it, but sometimes they just have to ask their primary care, hey, I'm going in for a dental procedure. And we're right for like just a day type of prophylactic antibiotics for them, just so that doesn't go into the heart. So it all goes together. The dentist, the primary care, the cardiologist, the pulmonologist, the exercise trainer, the meal prep, or people do a lot of meal prep for you. A lot of people do now meal replacement. They all go together for the good of the person, right? But that person still has to know what each part is doing to them. They have to be their own advocates and come in and talk to the patient. So I'm just like, but I'm so ecstatic that you're here. I'm just like, I cannot say it more and more. You are an independent contractor. I'm an independent contractor. That means that he goes to facilities and we send patients to the different hospitals or whatever, but we are not bound by that facility. So we're able to think outside the box. We're able to bring in different things like different testing, go different ways. We talk about holistic things with patients that may not want to start right away on medications on how to bring down the inflammation in the body. Like I said, doing food testing to stop the different foods that they're eating. We have that luxury to do that with patients that they can't get when they're with a provider that's with a system. So it's a lot more and more providers that are becoming independent. We try to help each other by sending each other patients because it's enough for everybody to go around. But you and I have been going together since I opened up. A rep told me about you, and ever since then I sent all my cardiac patients to you. So now you're here in the office at Jarvis County Medical Services. Everybody is just so ecstatic. So if you all are wanting to come in for an appointment with myself or with Dr. Crawl, we take most major insurances. You can call the office at 502-822-3659. It's now going to start saying Jarvis County Medical Services and Louisville Cardiology. We at 912 Lily Creek Road, Suite 200 to 201. So at the 912 building, you'll see Jarvis County Medical Services Primary Care, and you'll see the Louisville Cardiology sign on our buildings. But you coming in one door, All our staff talk to each other. We all know each other. We converse. We make sure that it's as comfortable for you. We try to get you in and out as quickly as possible without compromising your health. So we are just one big happy family, Dr. Crow.
And I must say that this is probably the happiest, friendliest office I've ever worked in.
All right.
The staff is great.
Yes. So I'll see you all next week on Karla's Corner. Have a wonderful and a blessed day. Bye-bye.